When we think about objectives and key results, there's a certain formula to actually craft high quality OKRs, which is what you also teach in your certification class. But tell us a little bit about how do you really apply that as the fire chief? And you have this wonderful story about Freddie, and we'd love to hear a little more about that.
Well, I mentioned to you that I was in charge during the worst year ever for fire deaths in the city of Austin. In fact, if you expand that to 18 months, we had 28 people died from fire in the city of Austin. And that is more than cities the size of Manhattan. I mean, it was just terrible. And when we realized that we were on a course for a really bad year, I started conducting a series of meetings with various officers from across the entire organization because we had no idea what could be causing this. Is it firefighter training? Is it response time? Is it the performance of the building? And so before you can actually build an OKR to turn that around, you need to identify what's happening first. I work with my clients on this all the time, right? Before you start throwing medicine in a problem, let's make sure that we have diagnosed what that problem is, right? So that the prescription is designed to address it. So we started having a series of meetings, and what we discovered, and it took us a while to discover this, was that in every single case where somebody died from fire in their home, they died in the absence of a working smoke alarm, every single case video. Now, here's what's interesting. The smoke alarms were there. They didn't work. And what we discovered is smoke alarms have a shelf life. I'm not talking about the battery. I'm talking about the actual technology that was within that smoke alarm. That shelf life is 15 to 20 years. But we have been requiring homes to have smoke alarms for 30 years. And we realized, do we have a whole bunch of homes, tens of thousands of homes out there where these homeowners have smoke alarms? They think they're working, but when they have the fire, it's not going to work for them. And so we were beginning to tease out what we realized was the problem. We were trying to strategize how to address this through public education. And then in a span of 1 hour on Christmas Eve in 2001, we lost 4 people from fire. 3 of them were little boys. It's a 2-story home, and the home had 3 smoke alarms. Not a single one of them worked. So I found myself in front of 50 journalists, and I knew that what the words I said was going to make it all the way up to national news. And I told the world, here's what we've discovered. We know what's going on. And, video was hard because I had a mother and father sitting over there on a curb who had just lost their children. The last thing you want to hear me talk about is non-working smoke alarms. But I felt like I didn't have a choice. We are a mission-driven organization. And when you implement OKR, you need to be mission-driven. That's part of our OKR implementation process to make sure that there's clarity on the core elements of strategy. And so I felt like I didn't have a choice. And so I told the world, here's the problem, and we need your help. And I literally said those words, video, we need your help. And because of that, the following Monday, I had over 100 calls from people all across the community. Every single one of the network affiliates called and said, whatever you want, you got it. Newspaper called. We said, we'll do a series of front page articles. Whatever you want, Kevin, you got it. I had several advertising agencies call me and say, clearly, this is a local problem that requires some type of local solution. Can we help you? And so I took all these resources. And what we did was we created an objective, which was to launch a public awareness campaign in order to reduce fire fatalities. And then we had 2 key results. One was decrease fire fatalities from 27, that's where we were at the time, to 0. And the other one was the number of touches, how many people we wanted to touch in the community with the message. We launched that campaign. It was amazing. We had fire trucks out in the community, putting door hangers on all of the doors, giving candy away to the kids. The media rode with them. We had a huge outdoor event, an outdoor theater where I took to the stage and told everybody, had everybody screaming, put a finger on it for fire safety, because we wanted them to test their smoke alarms. It was huge, made it all the way up to national news. The next day, a young lady actually died from fire in her home, and she had a smoke alarm that had been disassembled, and on her door was one of our messages, test your smoke alarm. So we're not really sure what happened, but that made it all the way back up to national news. But from the day she died to the day I became a full-time consultant, when I left the city, it was a little over 2 years. You know how many people died in the city of Austin from fire? 0, none. It's a world record. And that record actually lasted for another full year after I'd left the city to become a consultant. It's a world record. But here's what's really cool. I published an article about this in a couple of trade journals, and they were translated around the world, translated to several different languages. And because of that, Freddie Finger, he's the guy that we created around our message. He's now saving lives across planet Earth. Literally saving lives across planet Earth. And there's a message here, and I teach this in all of my consulting with my clients through OKR. is that when you experience failure, and you will, the failure is not what's going to define you. What's going to define you is what you do with it. We build ambition into our OKR intentionally, right? It's something new, different, a variation from what you've done in the past. If you try new stuff, you're statistically increasing likelihood you're going to fail. At the end of the day, it's not the failure, it's what did you learn from it and what did you do with what you learned. And so the failure from Freddie was a powerful message to me. Don't fear failure, face it, name it, claim it, and then do everything you can to explain it and build an OKR to turn it around. And in that signature presentation I give, the good, bad, the ugly, that's my bad story. I've got an ugly one too, but we don't have time to go through that one.
It's such an amazing and inspiring story. Thanks for sharing that. And I really like what you said, because you're actually rallying the entire community around the big mission of saving lives, and how was clearly articulated through the powerful objective and the key results. So thanks for sharing that. And I'm so glad to hear that for about 4 years there were no deaths due to fires, and powerful story out there.